We can see it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So today's a special board meeting, a single item agenda to talk about Osprey Point's request for a change to our design review guidelines. Paul, can you please call the roll, certified quorum?
Okay, yes, we have Steve Burke, Karen Gilmartin, Matt Roger, Joe Mulcahy, Pat Kepke, and Nathaniel Monks present, which makes a quorum for meeting, and notice was posted in accordance with board statutes.
Thank you. Okay, new business. 5.1, approval of proposed amendment to section 9.7, roof styles and colors and design review guidelines to allow condo associations to install metal roofs. Background. So we had a meeting, January board meeting. Osprey Point attended and made a presentation to the board and the community on what they were talking about, what they wanted to do. The board then wrote some new language for the section 9.7 in the design review guidelines. The issue for us, and I just want to start with this, is that we thought that this rule required the same notice as any other rule that the board wanted to change. And as it turns out, in a conversation about something else with our attorney yesterday, we found out that rules such as this, that is architectural and design rules, require a 14-day notice to the community, 14-day written and posted notice. So we're unable to vote on this rule today. So we're going to talk about it. And we're going to send out notice in the Pelican Marsh brief beginning of April, which will give the community 14-day required notice. And then the matter will be dealt with by the board at the April board meeting. Okay, so the current language the board has in front of it, I'll read it for the folks here. The color and style of roof tile should be compatible with what currently exists on residential units within the neighborhood in which the applicant resides. However, the neighborhood association may, in its sole discretion, allow for any modification to color and style consistent with the design guidelines. A sample of the roof tile being used must be presented with the application to the neighborhood association. Okay, well, we on the board want to differentiate between the neighborhoods, which are single family homes, and the condo associations, which obviously are condos, multi-family dwellings. And the issue for us was initially, when we considered this, was that we did not want to see metal roofs in the neighborhoods where the single family homes are, because we have concrete tile of varying styles and colors in these neighborhoods. Every house is maybe a little different. You might get a couple in a row that look the same roof-wise, but more often than not, you're dealing with flat tile, barrel tile, concrete tile of different colors. And the colors and styles are all controlled by the design review committee. So when someone wants to re-roof, they apply this to the design review committee, and they will look at a sample of the tile, make sure that the color and the style are commensurate with what is currently in that neighborhood. Now, with a condo, the entire neighborhood is getting a new roof all at once. So there is no commensurate style to match up to. Therefore, the board felt that having a metal roof in a condo association did not put a burden on neighbors who would have a different style of roof in a single family home neighborhoods. Therefore, we propose new language. This language reads as follows. The color and style of the roof tile should be compatible with what currently exists on the residential units within the neighborhood in which the applicant resides. A sample of the roof tile being used must be presented with the application to the neighborhood association. That speaks to the neighborhoods. Condominium associations may allow for raised seam metal roofs on multifamily units pending review and approval of the style and color by the foundation's design review committee. Colors for a metal roof must be from the medium to dark brown gray or gray color palettes. A sample of the roofing material being used must be presented with the application to DRC. What this essentially, the reason it reads that way is because metal roofs give you the ability to have a wide variety of colors. Pretty much everybody's shirt in this room could be a color for a metal roof. And so we don't want that, obviously. So we're going to have a very conservative palette available for these roofs. And like I just read, the actual roof tile itself must be presented to the committee with the application. So, do we have any board comments on this effort?
I just now noticed that as you was reading that in the newer language, it says condominium associations may allow for raised seam metal roofs. And it specifies raised seam metal roofs. But there are metal roofs that are not raised seam, such as what Claremont just got. Due to the fact that the metal roofs that are not raised seam look like barrel tile, do they not need to have any language about them?
Yeah, the reason that the board didn't, or the design review committee didn't alert to that metal roof that's on Claremont's buildings is because those are tile look roofs. So the barrel tile, in Claremont's case, there are multiple different kinds of roof tiles, metal roof tiles that actually look like tile or have an asphalt-like look to them. Claremont's roof, as in particular, is a barrel tile that looks like tile. Most people in the community, myself included, didn't even know that this was a metal roof. It just looks like tile. So it conforms to the original intent of the design review guidelines and therefore didn't need any special permission to be done. However, a raised seam metal roof does not look like tile. And while they can be attractive and we have, I don't know if can I just see show of hands, who was here for the Osprey presentation at the January board? Okay, so some people weren't. So we might take a quick look at some of these pictures, just so you guys kind of know what we're talking about here.
Steve, just to sort of add, I think when we went through all those pictures, I recall, because it was kind of the first time I had seen it, I asked the crowd, and there was a much bigger crowd, I think, at that meeting. And there really wasn't a whole lot of pushback or objection from what I recall.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning there's a smaller group here, but there really wasn't a lot of people that were challenging. I just want to make
Right.
that point.
That's true. Thank you. So at any rate, do we have any other questions or comments by the board? Matt, would you just speak briefly about the specs on the metal roof that you were talking about?
I took that sheet. What we wanted to provide for the community is a higher end profile on what they called an engineer panel. And it is a thicker denier metal that withstands a lot of impact. Not just a guy walking on the roof, but if we ever get a hailstorm or anything like that, it's going to handle it a heck of a lot better than a thinner denier, which would provide a bunch of dents and everything. So I went out and found about 7 different samples, and I've eliminated 3. So we'll have an opportunity when we are doing the design review to take a look at a couple different options. And the 4 different options, they're called snap block, they're called snap block 550, they're called mechanical, and mechanical is more geared towards industrial use. So even though it's on there, it's not something I would ever promote. But the other 2, the snap block design, really have provided for, I think, some of the better looks in the community. And Nate had the opportunity to have a public adjuster come and speak with us. And there was myself, Joe, and Nate. and we had the opportunity to speak with him, and he provided some insight about the three different types of roofs. All we have here right now is pretty much concrete. We're looking to add metal, and we'll never ever have the tar roofs that we used to have up north. So Nate, can you provide some of that insight? Because it was really impressive what that guy provided for us.
It was really nice. We had a public adjuster who had spent many years on both sides of the claims, where he worked for the insurance company dealing with claims, and then he worked as a public adjuster, helping people fight the insurance company because of the claims on the roof. So he sees everything all the time. So, and he had no extra grind with us. He just voluntarily had a meeting with us, and so we could just ask him questions about every subject. And so we asked him about metal roofs, tile roofs, and hurricane, because he did lots of work with Hurricane Ian, and what happened, and he said in a dead hit of a hurricane right in the middle, you know, everything's gonna get destroyed, your whole house is gonna get destroyed. But on the outer outskirts, where people are getting hit pretty hard with hurricane debris and winds and rain, what he constantly saw was that even though flying objects would damage both types of roof, like we have here in Pelican Marsh, as well as the steel roofs, is what would happen is that the steel roofs would not become destroyed with the damage and become dented, and the building underneath of it would not receive water damage. Just that it just almost never had water damage after getting banged, but the neighbor would have a tile roof, and their roof would become punctured with the debris, and then they would have two problems. The roof is gone, and now there's water, you know, raining in the house during the hurricane. So he also spoke pretty strongly against the type of roofs that you see that are metal, that have the what do you call this coating, Steve, that looks like little rocks on it?
Stone coating.
Stone coating.
Yeah.
He mentioned, like, one time he drove up to a house, and while he was still in his car, he couldn't figure out why there's shiny quarters all over the roof. And it turned out that the hail had knocked the surface and completely shiny. And so there was black roof with shiny surfaces where the hail had been, and now it was exposed to corrosion. And so he believed that steel roofs were a much better product. The raised seam roofs are a much better way of making a roof. And the insurance companies calculate them as having a longer life also, 30 years instead of 25, but it may be shorter or longer than that. And then he also indicated that that they did last a lot longer in normal circumstances. And we didn't talk about colors with him. But anyway, we came away understanding that the people who chose to get steel roofs were getting an advantage. Our insurance agent for Pelican Marsh Foundation told us that you get a discount on your insurance if you have a steel roof also. And then it usually makes, in her estimation and experience, that discount eventually pays for itself. It pays for the extra cost of having a steel roof over the price of the other. And so the board did think that Osprey was being reasonable, asking for the owners of Osprey wanted something to give themselves a longer life and a better insurance rate. And so the board at the time decided that it seemed like it would be good to let the owners of Osprey choose such a thing.
Thank you.
One additional comment, Steve. I think somebody mentioned earlier, isn't the golf club, don't they have steel or metal roofs?
Yeah, they do. The golf club building has a racy metal roof. It is a dark green, not a color that we would approve for residential use. But they're very happy with it. I do want to say that I think we need to rewrite this section again. Because I believe that given what I'm hearing from these guys, Matt, the specs of the metal need to be included in this guideline so that the DRC has we can tell people exactly what, thank you, sure, which of these engineered panels are acceptable. with regard to the guidelines. And then, also the thickness, this all needs to be delineated within the guidelines so that there's no wiggle room and no question about what is acceptable and what isn't. Since we're moving in a new direction here, we want to make sure we do it right. So in anticipation of that meeting next month, regarding this issue, we will have a new language for everyone to look at.
And should we probably put in there no, stone coating as well?
Yeah, you know, it sounds to me like that's.
It just seems like a non-starter.
It,
You know?
it looks attractive.
It looks, it looks impressive. I mean, the stuff looks like.
But even in our, they brought us samples
Yeah.
into the executive committee meeting and the pieces were falling off on the table.
Right.
So I think that even though it might look attractive, that we should probably not allow it to protect the owners of the condominiums from a bad product.
Right.
At least until a better product comes along that looks good.
Right. I don't know if we want to, I think what we do is, like every other criterion that we write in this thing, we tell them what is allowed. I don't think it's necessary to tell them what's not allowed.
Yeah.
I think you just say, this is what you can do.
Yeah.
Everything else, you can't do. And that way it keeps it simple, keeps it short. There's no confusion. Anyone else?
No, I was just going to say, I do see it more and more in the high-end communities, as I think I said this last time. Stonebridge has a beautiful medium brown on their whole new amenity center, the two new restaurants and everything, they're all redone and enlarged. And it, as I play over there and know the people, they are so happy. It looks so sleek and modern. It doesn't look messy. That's what they said. It just looks so clean. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Look,
I do know that, having spoken to a couple of designers, one of whom lives here, that a lot of the high-end stuff is moving in that direction. And of course, Pelican Marsh will move in that direction too over the next decade. For now, we need to be concerned about maintaining our look in the neighborhoods of the single-family communities. And but I think that the time has come to allow this for condominium use. Anybody have anything they would like to say, residents? Mr. Carbone?
Well, I'm still sharing this, blocking this. You want to unshare it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. My ears always get perked up real quick when we have quick announcements. Call it
State your
on
name, please.
Jerry Cardone. It was in the beginning, will be now and forever. Amen.
Any idea on design?
I'm not convinced.
You know, the last 6 months, I've been involved in a battle with the CBD here about retaining the architectural atmosphere of Pelican Marsh. You guys have been part of those meetings. And one of it is saying, you know, why do we want to change? Apparently we didn't want to change, but got changed anyway, at least at this point. But we're back now augmenting the architectural mass feature of Pelican Marsh, which is fine, okay? Just kind of strange. Now, there are 7 condominium projects here. If you take out 4 of them that have already had roofs in the last 3 years, you're gonna have 1 unit sitting there for the next 4 or 5 years at a bare minimum, unless, God forbid, we have a hurricane, wipes them all out, and everybody will have a new roof. So there's some regard to that. They're gonna be isolated. The comment that they're isolated in a little corner of Pelican Marsh has nothing to do with it. Okay? The other aspect of it is that we, as a board, don't have the obligation, okay, to put anything that has cost consciousness to it. If it brings in a lower premium, that's not our purview. We're not supposed to do something that says you pay less. It's the same thing, if you're gonna do the specifications, are you gonna give them a specific gauge? Because they come in different gauges.
Yes, I think that we have to do that.
Okay, so you gotta take a look at that. You know, what are you gonna do? You're gonna say, well, you can't use 10 gauge we want you to use 12 gauge, and then you're gonna tell them that they have to spend extra money. I don't know if we have that ability to do that within our documents. Okay, so you better go back to your attorney, buddy, okay? That's an issue to take a look at. The other issue is that foundation, okay, represents the entire community. We're not just a condo association. So if we're gonna allow the condos to do metal roofs, how can you isolate all the single family? Because you just said, well, you don't wanna, okay, change 1 or 2 houses when there's 10, 12 other houses around it. How are you gonna deny somebody that's gonna come in here 6 months from now, 2 years from now, after a hurricane, or some damage, or time for changing other roofs, and deny them using a metal roof? Have you thought about that?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's,
So, you know, they're the same owners, the same participants that are in the foundation. You're isolating them. Okay, the foundation represents everybody, not just one individual or one group. So how could you make the change just for condo owners? Why do they get a preferential treatment, no matter what, whether it's the roof, or they could use purple doors? How does that come about?
Well, I think that I can answer that. Couple of us live in, gated communities and, 37 homes, and a couple others live in other communities. To have 1, 2, or 3 out of those 37, they stand out, and we don't want that.
I understand that.
So we want consistency,
So
and
then,
by having the entire community and that association replace all of their roofs, we have gathered that information and we've nailed it.
you contradict yourself in the same breath,
Not really.
okay? If you take a look at what is in the documents now, okay? It says the design and review guidelines. Take into consideration the workmanship, design, and harmony of external design and existing structure location in relation to surrounding structures. Where is there another metal roof around? Outside of,
Well, Osprey
Oh,
Point is an independent association.
the point that's.
but it's
written-
part of Pelican
that's
Marsh.
Right, but that was written. All the design review guidelines were written. With regard.
Well, then you have to
the
change this
I'm
as
sorry,
well.
let me just finish my sentence, wait. They were written with regard to the neighborhoods. Neighborhoods meaning single family homes. There's no delineation in these things about condominium versus single family homes, but when you're talking about, they have to comport with surrounding. Styles and colors, they're talking about the house next door, not the condominium association across Pelican Marsh, right? So it's a different paradigm, and what we're trying to do here is we're trying to improve the guidelines by allowing the condominium associations to have a different roof, because it seems to us that there's gonna be complaints from single family homeowners. Now, they're not telling them they have to have a metal roof. What we're telling them is you can have a metal roof. 3/4 of the people in Osprey Point have to vote for a metal roof for them to actually get one. So this is their deal, but we're saying you can do this. What we're trying not to do is to have someone next door to someone who's putting on a metal roof say, oh my God, what are you doing? I can't have that next door to my house. That's inevitable, you don't understand.
It's just, I think it opening up a Pandora's box for down the road.
I understand what you're saying, and I
Okay,
appreciate it,
because,
and I
You know,
assume.
you're gonna come to a portion here that as things change in this, they're evolving, all right? What about if somebody wants to come in with these new total glass, you know, superstructures that they're putting up? Down on the high rise, a lot of glass. Okay,
Well, that's covered in 9.6.
how's it, how do you figure that out? You can't do glass?
Well, if you read what it says,
I
9.6.
don't have total here. I got a nice bit, I just not the right little bit. Okay,
Material finishes.
okay.
It's
But
covered in
somebody's, you're
9.6.
changing material finish now, why can't you change to glass if somebody wants to do glass?
I think we take it under review, but I don't think it's something that makes a lot of sense. Because you'd have to conform to Miami-Dade hurricane code, which is now 180 miles per hour. So how about the
Yeah,
glass panel?
That's another ballgame. That has nothing to do with us.
Still
Okay,
got,
we gotta comply to Collier County, period. That's,
which is 160
Yeah.
right now.
so there's no issue with that. That's not our purview. Okay. It's just that you're isolating one owner from another owner. As far as
So-
taking condo owners, single family owners. Okay, I think somewhere along the line, there'll be somebody, guaranteed, it happens all the time. Somebody will come along, okay, and say, that's what I want because, you know, everybody moves here and they see what's here, and 6 months later to a year, they want to change it. Okay, that's the evolving world, right? They don't appreciate what you have, okay? They don't want to go to Rome, or Venice or whatnot and see something old. They want to come here, see something old and make it new. So somebody's gonna come along and you're gonna have to say, how come I can't do that?
Well, I think this is the responsibility of the board. We're elected to make decisions like this on behalf of the community, and I believe that you have to say, at some point, you have to say, no, you can't have a purple tower in your house. Or you have to say, the board, in the board's judgment, condominiums are different than single-family homes, and for this reason, you give them the rationale. If they don't like it, okay, well, they can vote for somebody else to be on the board,
Well,
right?
now would be the point in time to say, when you're doing this, okay, you make the additional compliment, okay, that metal roofs will not be utilized, okay, in the future on single family residents.
But we don't know that. We can't say that.
Oh,
Thank you.
Jerry, this is reality. Do you have the same car do I? I'm sure where you live in Montclair, you had, everybody probably didn't like what your board did. But
They
that's reality, and we all live hopefully by the super majority. And if people don't like it, there's a million options, so many communities, and,
Well, I'm glad you're going ahead and putting this out so that everybody can get a shot at it.
yeah.
The thing that bothers me most about it is this 3-day event, okay? Come out Friday, come here Tuesday. How many people are on the design review committee?
There's 2 of us here. Well, there's 3 of us here.
Okay, 2 board members and John?
No, one board member, one administrator, and one John.
Poor John,
John.
poor John.
And I'm married to John.
Okay. So while I got you here, speaking of approvals and design review committee, I guess Paul about this about 6-8 months ago. What's being built between Synovus Bank and CBS? And did they come in for an approval? Did we approve it? In the Galleria.
Okay, look, this is a, as you can appreciate, a single issue meeting. So we're not really talking about stuff that doesn't apply directly to what we're talking about, which is this
You
bylaw.
don't want to see me come back, though, either.
No, you're gonna come back regardless.
Don't try that, you coming back.
Can we talk about this offline?
I think that's better.
You know, we can end the
Yeah.
meeting and have a chat about this?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because we're negligent there. We built a whole gallery, those guys never came in for approval, okay? Plus, we lost money, we could have charged them for review,
It's true.
okay? I've been around too long. And the only thing you do, every time you make a change, you put yourself into a consideration for somebody down the road that wants to make a change, not exactly like, but what you're doing here, no matter how you cut it, it's a precedent-setting issue. Okay, that, whatever you post out here when it comes out, like you want to modify it already, you better really fine line it. I mean, everything. All right, because if not, then bite you in the proverbial, you know where.
I appreciate that.
Jerry, are you recommending that we put in our language that residential units may not use metal, raised?
I would let somebody come down the road and challenge you against that, as opposed to coming in and say, I want that, but you gave it to somebody else.
It looks like it's already implied in there, but we might stick with that language, I appreciate
It's
that.
already implied in there that you can't have metal roofs, and you're putting it in.
What about condominium associations only may allow for?
It's simple.
I'm telling
have
you,
the
you're
size.
separating the, the cake from the icing. They're all owners here.
Jerry, somebody else wants to talk.
Well, hang on, when he's done, we'll get to the next one. So are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Here,
Yes.
those are deed goes unpunished. Remember the colored lights?
Won't even go there. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just thinking that if I didn't send a memo out, they wouldn't have signs, temporary signs up to know where the hell we are. Okay? We're ruled by an idiot.
Andy Sullivan, Ventura. I think the concept of the metal roof for the condominium associations makes sense. I think it's easy to separate the type of community because the condominium associations have uniform buildings and uniform roofs. And there's no conflict in giving it to the condominiums. And I think you can easily say condominium association only. The individual neighborhoods are very different. I also wonder if, for a sense of expediency, if there'd be a time limit on comments.
A time limit on comments?
On comments, individual people, maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes rather than.
Well, we do, run these meetings, by Robert's rules, and when we have a sufficient volume of people in here, we limit the comments to 3 minutes. But we just had a skeleton crew here today, so we figured, what the hell? Thank you. Anyone else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Now, anybody who would like to stick around for some wild and crazy discussions of whatever Jerry wants to talk about?